X-Pac, 1, 2, 3, 60.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60, everyone. All right. Hey, you know I like to keep it real and full disclosure on the show a lot. This is the fourth take on trying to get this damn show started.
Wait, we're not live?
Wait a minute.
Live to tape. It's
Yes,
just the
that's-
thing, guys. It's business talk.
Hey, so it's a lot going on in wrestling right now, obviously. It's an incredible time to be in the industry and be a fan of wrestling.
Absolutely.
So, and a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by somebody I'm a big fan of. And a lot of people are going to be big fans of his that aren't already real soon. Chuck Taylor's going to join us. Anyways, there's, bummed out, I got the news, was it yesterday, that the wrestling world lost Pedro Morales. I thought about having, I was going to call George Napolitano because he had some really kind words to say about Pedro. And just there's so much to talk about, and I just don't know if I could give Pedro the proper, tribute, like as far as doing a tribute show, because so many other people can do this part way. But I'm pretty sure Dave Meltzer had a great
It's up
tribute
on Wrestling Observer Radio. It's at least 20-something minutes where he talks about his career and what he meant and all of that stuff.
Yeah, so I highly encourage anyone to go check that out because Dave does an amazing job on those career retrospectives.
I mean, his impact, especially in the Latino community, was unbelievable. So,
And I knew Pedro from all the years that I worked with WWE. From the time I went, first started there, and he was always such a really nice guy, very classy, and you could totally, even later on, you could totally understand why someone would trust putting a world championship on a guy like that.
and even as a commentator, he broke barriers where he became the first Puerto Rican to do Spanish commentary for an international promotion.
Yes.
He was WWE's.
And Pedro was ready for all types of action. That was like his catchphrase, way back in the day. But anything that talk about
Yeah,
Pedro?
I guess we should go ahead and first of all mention
Yeah.
that he did pass at the age of 76, which, is still fairly young, at least in my opinion. Pedro Morales, a little bit about him. He beat Ivan Koloff for the WWF Championship 3 months into his run in the company. He held the belt for close to 3 years and was always a draw at Madison Square Garden, almost to the level of Bruno Sammartino. And then in 1980, when he did return, he held the tag titles and the Intercontinental title and brought instant credibility to that bout as well. He also became the first Triple Crown champion in WWF. And as Johnny earlier mentioned, he was also one of the first Latinos to be a major champion, so really big. Also, he was really big here in WWA in Los Angeles. Again, Dave Meltzer goes into a lot more detail about that and why he was so big in WWA as well.
So, yeah. And thank you for that, Denise. And, wow, the wrestling world, it's very sad. And we hurt, and we're going to miss, having Pedro Morales around. And he was a great man. And I said this in a tweet, and I'm honored to say that I knew Pedro Morales. So rest in peace, Pedro. Going to miss you. And there's...
No easy way to transition.
On a lighter note, I guess you can say.
How do you segue that one?
There's no easy way to transition, but there is plenty to talk about globally right now. So Denise, take
There
it
really
away.
is. So literally the day after our podcast last week, we had a lot of news with All Elite Wrestling. As you guys know, on Thursday, they held their second pep rally at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. And lots of news came out of that. And I'm going to kind of go through and we can talk about it. But first and foremost, the big one is Kenny Omega signing with All Elite Wrestling Wrestling. We've had speculation. Is he going to stay in New Japan? Is he going to go to WWE? Is he going to go to All Elite Wrestling? Well, apparently this wasn't an easy, I guess you can say, decision for Kenny to make. He did listen to everybody's offers. He did go on and explain again on that on Wrestling Observer. He went on a really, really detailed explanation as to why he chose All Elite Wrestling. Essentially, he signed a 4-year deal with AEW. The reason being, 1, he gets to be with his friends. 2, he gets to have creative control in his portion. 3, he gets freedom. 4, he still wants to wrestle guys from all over the world, and All Elite Wrestling is going to offer them. However, he did go on to say that he has a clause in his contract that still allows him to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Granted, if New Japan Pro Wrestling wants that as well, they can definitely do that. And he also went on to say that WWE offered him a tremendous deal, that they were nothing but cordial, professional, and everything that you could expect from a company like WWE. And but in the end, he signed a 4-year deal with AEW.
Yeah. I think that, pretty much, I think most people thought that was what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I know who represents Kenny, so I knew it was always going to be a possibility. Ended up in WWE. I mean, because like he said, I'm sure they were ready to roll the red carpet out for him, and I'm sure they probably. I'm guessing. I'm not sure. I'm guessing they might have flown him in somewhere, to Stanford. I don't know, but
sure
that's how it used to be done.
Oh, yeah.
And you give them the grand tour. If it used to be, they'd bring people to, like, if you were really coveted, you'd go to Vince's house. Have a meeting with Vince. That's how it used to be.
And I think, we talk about the money and the freedom and working with your friends. I think also he's going to save his body a lot more, I think, with AEW, with less road dates. So I think maybe that played into it a little bit too.
Yeah, and one of the things that I also wanted to mention was that he did say that part of the reason, because, obviously, All Elite Wrestling they haven't started TV yet. We don't know much about that information. It's still a very big risk for them. But he did say that part of that risk being there is something that he liked. He wanted to be part of something that, he has to grow, essentially, be a part of helping it grow. So that was very interesting as well to hear his perspective. But that's not all the news that also came out of the press conference. So the Lucha Brothers, Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. also came out, and they're essentially, from the looks of it, they're building towards a match at Double or Nothing against the Young Bucks. We already kind of knew this, talking about this the week prior. But speaking of Lucha, they also announced that they're going to be working with AAA, which definitely opens up a lot more doors for a lot of hot, younger talent to come in to the company and work with some of those guys.
Yeah, I found that interesting. That they, it makes sense. I'll be interested to see who they try to, do the talent exchange with, because just to be honest, there's some performers that just it doesn't translate well. Like, there's some people that are really over big time in Mexico and AAA that just, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work, for various reasons. Some guys just aren't like, they're great for what they do down there, but it just, how do I say this? They have a mix.
Yeah.
AAA has a mix of like great in-ring performers and some not so great ones that are still really over.
Yes.
I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I just hope that they don't make the mistake of trying to,
AAA is a promotion with a lot of hot acts.
Yeah, because some of that could go wrong. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. Like, some stuff that seems great on paper, it just isn't. Probably ain't gonna work.
They have a roster so far of 27 individuals, and it's really international. So they did a great job of booking a unique crew so far. So.
Right
All
on.
right. Yeah, they did announce quite a few talent, which was really exciting, including our guest later today with best friends Chuck and Trent. So that's going to be really exciting. But some other information that came out of that. So following after the press conference, obviously they announced the pre-sale dates and the general admission, which pre-sale was yesterday, the day before that.
Monday.
And then today was general admission. All those tickets are officially gone. Pre-sale went by really fast. General admission sold out, and it was reported as 4 minutes, which is absolutely
Good Lord.
incredible. So good for them, because
It's just like just for, to put that in perspective, like, I've held my breath for 4 minutes before.
Damn.
Underwater.
What?
Yes.
Why?
It's a good talent.
To see how long you can hold your breath.
Oh my God, that's impressive.
Like on a first try, or did you work up to 4 minutes?
Worked up. I was pretty good.
Like,
When I was younger, I could
Okay.
stay underwater for a long ass time.
Man, I'm panicking after 30 seconds.
me too.
No, it's like,
Yeah. I thought
Actually, I'm not gonna. It was just shy. It wasn't quite 4 minutes, but it was getting close.
But 4 minutes is not that long a time. And it's also interesting, they had this rally last week, and they said if you go on our website, you get a pre-sale code. 30,000 people got pre-sale codes. The MGM Grand for boxing at its peak is only 12,000 seats. So
That's what I was saying, because somebody was saying, "Oh, they got to sell 18,000 tickets." No, for that type of setup, because I know, because
Yes.
I've performed in the MGM Grand Arena for a wrestling pay-per-view, and it holds about 13, roughly.
Wow.
And the T-Mobile Arena across the street, I think, can only do 16 or 18. So it's not worth the jump in money.
Either way, this is a bigger, capacity than All In was. So it's a step up once again.
And I believe, Johnny, you mentioned earlier about Cody sending a tweet out that tickets have been sold for all 50 states. What was it, 9 countries as well?
9 countries, all 50 states, and he had knee surgery. So pretty big week for him.
Yeah, there you go. So big news for them. Congratulations for, Double or Nothing is clearly going to be, a good show. They actually already have some matches announced, with the main one being Kenny and Jericho already being announced. And speaking of Chris Jericho.
Well, I believe the main event, they already said, is going to be Lucha Bros and
I haven't seen that one.
I think it's going to be
yet.
Kenny and Jericho.
It could be.
Because they already announced Kenny and Jericho.
Yeah.
Kenny and Jericho have been announced. Hangman Page, Pac has been announced, and the three-way for the women's match has also been announced as well. The last I saw, Bucks Lucha Brothers hadn't been announced yet, but obviously that's what they're working towards.
Yep.
One of the things I also wanted to add that we should talk about is Jericho did say that he will be partnered with AEW as well for his cruise, which was expected January 2020. Yes. That'll be happening. And then one of the things we should also definitely be talking about is Dave Bautista is actually in talks with both AEW and WWE. I don't know how many of you guys
know
Chris
an assumption?
Tweet.
Yeah, is that confirmed though? Because how do we really know?
Well, it's what's being talked about, I guess.
Yeah,
there was a tweet that Chris Jericho sent out. So, I guess you could only put 2 and 2 together.
People are reporting that he's in talks with both. But those same people who are reporting are the same people who reported last WrestleMania season that Dave wanted to be involved in WrestleMania, and WWE didn't even call him back. That was the narrative. That's the same narrative that was floated out there. I don't know how interested they are. I do
probably a lot more interested now that there's somebody else on, a buyer in the market.
Well, yes, and that might be part of it. I think if he's not locked up by WWE in any way, I wouldn't be shocked if he turned up at something like StarCast. Just as a signing, as a thing, as a wrestler.
No, you're not talking about he's not looking for a full-time, maybe an exclusive special appearance kind of a thing, or who knows? I
don't think you'd get a lot of value in Dave Bautista full-time.
Yeah, especially
a Brock.
His schedule, his age. It'd be tough.
Yeah, he's a special attraction. You'll make your money on him on 5 dates.
There you go.
Well, either way, whether or not, I think it still would be smart to at least listen to what AEW has. I think for anybody that's in that sort of position, why not listen to the other offers? Even if you're not interested, still listen to them either way. So there you go.
Well, of course. In any other industry, that's exactly how you do it. There's some people in wrestling that kind of oh, what are you doing? That's bad business. No, it ain't.
That's straight up business.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Speaking of business, we have some really big news for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kota Ibushi has officially signed, is no longer a freelancer with the company, and is now as part of talent for New Japan. This is a huge signing for them because for Kota Ibushi has been an immense, incredible talent, and they haven't been able to go all the way with him just for the fact that he was a freelancer. Mm-hmm. But now that he's officially signed, now they can sort of, really put him out there and I guess put more eggs in his basket, I guess, if you want to say.
And truthfully, for someone that was a freelancer, they used him really well.
I had no idea he was a freelancer.
So, I knew, and it always baffled me. Man, they just put him in some big matches for someone, and he goes over. He's not always just losing, So yeah. Imagine what they'll put behind him now.
Oh, Lord.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely going to be trying to fill, sort of Kenny's spot. I don't know if you want to say Jay White's filling his spot, or maybe Kota will fill his spot.
Well,
it can go either way. I guess.
Speaking of Jay White, he's the brand new heavyweight champion. You can see him and Kota putting on an incredible title match.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. Well, for both guys, they're both going to have new, fresh matchups because just Kota alone, he can still have matches with Tanahashi, Naito, Okada, Jay White. All of he's wrestled these guys before, but never like in a big giant promotion.
Yep.
So really good for them. But before we jump on to Jay White, I do want to add the fact that this was a big signing for New Japan, and now this sort of I guess you can say not balances out, but it now shows that AEW and New Japan sort of have something that one another wants. Like we mentioned earlier, Kenny still has his clause where he can still work with New Japan if they both agree. Now, obviously, I think that AEW, by not having Kota Ibushi, they would have loved to have Kota because they could have paired him up with Kenny, and therefore had them do tag team matches against the Lucha Brothers, SoCal and Censored, the Young Bucks, and so on and so forth. So I just want to add that now, they both have something that each other kind of wants.
Bargaining chips.
Hey, so that guy, it seemed like, the last thing he wanted to do was be tied down to any one promotion, right? It was like, man, they must have paid some big money for that. I'm guessing.
I'm guessing too. I that's the speculation going around. I haven't heard any numbers yet, but if he finally, I guess you can say settled down with a company, I guess if you want to put it in those terms, it had to be good,
Well, at some point, a wrestler has to seriously cash in on all the hard work and everything, and all these spectacular matches, and all the wear and tear on the body, and good for him.
Absolutely.
Congrats to Ibushi.
And with the relationship that AEW and the people there have with New Japan, it wouldn't be shocking to see him show up on AEW at some point either. So
yeah, I guess that's what the wait and see game is now. If they're going to be willing to work with each other, who knows? But as Johnny mentioned, Jay White, Switchblade, is now the new IWGP champion. He defeated, very shockingly, Hiroshi Tanahashi at New Beginning in Osaka, pinned him clean, and it's a big deal. He's now a champion. Since 2011, only five guys have held the IWGP Championship, including Hiroshi Tanahashi, Okada, AJ Styles, Naito, and Kenny Omega. And as we know, every guy that Gato has put the belt on has become a star. He did this with AJ Styles in his first match in Japan. He was still not very known in Japan. He gave him the belt, became a star. Kenny Omega was originally just in the junior heavyweight division, and then once he got the belt, he moved up to main event status. So this definitely says a lot for Jay White, who I may add is only 26 years old. I'm 6 months older than Jay White, so that should show how much of a bright future he has within the company. And
well, your future's bright too, Denise.
Plus, the guy he looks even younger, kind of,
he does.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so I want to see it. And I was surprised when I learned that, because didn't Tanahashi just get the belt back?
He did.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's a Gato move, and Gato's pretty.
Yeah.
It's safe to say he's brilliant, at booking, and so I'm gonna just defer to Gato's judgment on this.
Everything since 2011, everything New Japan has done has seemed to matter.
They're so good at drawing stuff out, and Jay White is really great at drawing the ire of the Japanese fans, and so yeah.
So the idea, on paper, this would look like a hot shot that the WWE kind of does, but how often have they actually done that? That I think this will matter, that it's a hot shot, if you will, that it's. Versus
the fans
rest of the ranks.
Automatically saw it as a big deal simply because now he's one of those few guys that hold the belt, because the argument is, how many champions haven't we seen in other companies that the belt jumps around, and you don't really see that in New Japan. So with him, it's there's that argument, either the man makes the belt or the belt makes the man.
It can go either way.
It
depends. Yeah, it all depends. A belt, it can, here in the States, for the most part, right, these days, the man makes the belt. Or the woman makes the belt. And that's just because of how the championships are booked and, and used. But, yeah, no, over there, a belt is still, putting a championship on somebody is, yeah, no, it works well over there.
It's a move towards the future for them, for sure.
Oh, good for him.
Exactly.
Happy for him. Really nice guy too. I mean, those things do matter. Being a decent human being, getting along in the locker room. So.
All right, and moving on to our next point of news. Last week we had Dave Lagana on our show talking about the Crockett Cup, and we actually have more news out of that. The NWA has announced that they will be working alongside New Japan and CMLL. Both companies will be sending some of their tag teams over for the Crockett Cup on April 27th. As we know, both New Japan and CMLL are partners with Ring of Honor, and they're partnering with Ring of Honor. So there you go. It all ties in and helps build this. Helps build the tag team portion for the show, obviously. And then the villain Marty Scurll will also be challenging for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship at the Crockett Cup against
Yeah,
the
I
Gauntlet.
remember, like, when Dave was on last week, brought up the fact that, on the Crockett Cups, when I was a kid, the world title was defended, and, and he brought up, well, what if the champion was in the Crockett Cup? And so I think they put it out there kind of like a poll almost. I don't know if anyone saw that. Like there was a few tweets that, I think maybe Nick, the champion even said, would you rather see me defend the title or be in the
Right.
Crockett
Yeah, there
Cup?
were some poll tweets out there that were just kind of temperature gauging, if you will.
Yeah, and Lagana he spoke about it last week. He's so good at utilizing social media, and he really wants to know what people think. And brilliant. I mean, great. We got Marty Scurll and Nick Aldis fighting for the title on top of the Crockett Cup. To me,
there's a backstory there, but there's a history of Marty and Nick. So they've they've been friends and that for many years, and so I liked how they did that. I like that.
And I love how the Crockett Cup, it's going to shape up to be something special. Must see for sure.
All right. Moving on, we also have some WWE topics that we want to hit, and one of them is Becky being removed from her WrestleMania match and having Charlotte added, and Becky is now on a 60-day suspension, which they said ends 4 days after WrestleMania. So I kind of wanted to gauge your guys' thoughts, because obviously Twitter had a field fest with this.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, and the fact. To me, like, Twitter outrage is the new, like, crowd boos in the arena for when you're trying to get heat.
Yeah.
Nothing more, for the most part, in my opinion. I mean, you get the occasional, like, I'm going to cancel my subscription, whatever, yada, yada. And some people do, I imagine. But for the most part, they're just blowing off steam, and that's their way of booing.
And
I swear to
Charlotte-
God, that's what it is these days.
And Charlotte took full advantage. She was trolling people on social media, Twitter, Instagram. It was genius, and I loved it.
And she's leaning in, and WWE is leaning into the feeling, and I've said this about the Becky Charlotte stuff months ago, that by keeping Charlotte not a heel, and then having Becky be as hot as she was, they bordered on the Roman Reigns response for Charlotte. And they're leaning into that hard by saying, oh, you don't like Charlotte? Don't like Charlotte. Like Becky,
Yes.
We're going to wrong Becky. My only note on Monday night, and I'm sure they had a dark match after Monday Night Raw, but if Becky Lynch, this firebrand, got suspended and they took away her opportunity, I wanted to see a Bret Hart level smash the tables, destroy the ring kind of a fit if she was suspended.
After Raw, they had the Riot Squad come out and attack Ronda Rousey and Becky, and they sort of teamed up to take out the Riot Squad. And that wasn't necessarily a match, but it was more of a blowing off of steam.
Gotcha. So that at least explains, because what I wanted to see or hear is that Becky was so upset, like, oh, this is it, let's tear the ring apart.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything.
I read, and it was actually just one person that just kept complaining, and they were going on and on about, this is stupid. Like, the whole thing's being built around her apologizing. Like, look, it wasn't stupid. Like, it's my opinion on it. Like, if you understand, like, how somebody's pride can get in the way of them making the right decision, for their future, like, it's a really simple and powerful thing. And it's just an apology.
I thought it was refreshing.
It was very well done.
I thought it was refreshing because most of the time the person never apologizes. He punches the other person in the face and a fight breaks out. No, she actually listened to Finn Balor and said, you know what? All right, my bad. I'm sorry. Let's do WrestleMania. I thought it was a cool thing to see for once.
I questioned the week-to-week decision-making and authority of Triple H and Stephanie in this. That one week they're like, you have to see a doctor. And she was like, no, I'm not seeing a doctor. And then the next week, like, oh, well, you saw a doctor, but you have to apologize for punching. Like, that episodic didn't feel great to me. It was clear they left a couple of these crumbs to have this kind of a journey heading into WrestleMania, including maybe the Fit Finlay letting her into the match to begin with. I feel like that was a crumb they laid in case they wanted to use it because they didn't know what they wanted to use. But they for sure want to take Becky out of this match, put Charlotte into this match, to then put Becky back into this match.
So yeah, the people that are complaining and all in an uproar, besides themselves. I mean, the hero has to have adversity along the way. Like, okay, what? We just make the match and okay, here you go. Like, no roadblocks on the way to WrestleMania.
But 2 pay-per-views.
Come on, don't be stupid.
Is she going to do a tag? Like, is she going to tag with Ronda Rousey against the Riot Squad? Like, I don't want to see. Like, that's not really going to fit. I don't want them in a ring with each other unless it's going to be this match.
Plus, let's not forget Kevin Owens recently beat up Vince. AJ Styles recently knocked Vince out. Do you think we're not going to get Becky doing something to Vince McMahon for suspending her? I think we will, and that's going to be very entertaining.
Yeah. But anyone who's on Twitter right now complaining, oh my God, Charlotte Flair, how are they taking this match? You've been worked, and it worked on you. And that was me.
Exactly what my point was.
And that was me for 10 minutes Monday. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Genius. Loved it.
And we also have some changes to the Elimination Chamber match this Sunday. Mustafa Ali is now out due to a concussion, and Kofi Kingston has replaced him in the match. Did you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought Kofi did a great job. He was great, and that guy's always ready, for situations like that. Well, I think, maybe any of those 3.
Yeah.
But tough break for Mustafa. And this is a thing that we have to, and I say we, I'm talking about people like Mustafa. I had to deal with it because I'm a similar size as he is. When you're not working with guys your own size and everyone's way bigger than you, guys aren't afraid to run right through you, and not even hitting you in dangerous places, but just the collision alone. And sometimes it'll ring your bell and, yeah, that might, I'm worried. Worried maybe isn't the right. I have a little bit of concern that might be I hope that's not an ongoing theme. Well, that's all I'm saying. People, just say people like the bigger guys, like.
I'm with you for sure. As a healthcare person, I'm with you on that. I just hope that guys are now taking advantage of the hyperbaric oxygen that Daniel Bryan did, because he shows no more signs of concussions. So I think guys can be doing that throughout their career, hopefully, and hopefully, Yeah,
I would just, what I'm saying is just it's easy because I've been the bigger guy. Strangely enough, I've been the bigger guy. Like, working with guys like Mysterio or, Ray or different other guys that I was quite a bit bigger than, and it's easy to not realize, even with guys bigger than me, is that I hit hard. Like I hit some guy with a clothesline last year and like rung his bell pretty good, and I hit him in a safe spot. So like, and it's not something where like guys that like should be. I just think guys should be mindful. Like, okay, this guy's 100 pounds lighter than me. Maybe I shouldn't hit him full on, even if it's in a safe spot.
Fair. And the question becomes, is that the conversation that they're having right now?
I don't know.
Or is the conversation like maybe Mustafa Ali needs to curb his style, which shouldn't be the conversation.
But how does someone bring up that conversation? Hey, you can't just say, hey, maybe go a little lighter on me or whatever.
No, there's no way. There's no way, because there's no way Mustafa would say it in a million years. If his life depended on it, he probably wouldn't say it, because I wouldn't.
Yeah. The trainers need to tell the agents.
I was when I was 1-2-3 Kid. I had a string of house show matches with Waylon Mercy, Danny Spivey.
Wow.
Yeah, and every night he took my fucking head off with the clothesline. But I wouldn't say anything. But he was killing me. My neck was fucked up and everything. And like eventually one night he hit me so hard and I just ran right into it. It blew his bicep out.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he was fucked up. But like, yeah, like, so I don't honestly think Danny knew he was. I mean, he wasn't trying to go out of his way to take it easy on me, but he wasn't trying to kill me. You know? So, I mean, those types of things can happen.
Yeah, we don't know the level of the concussion. Hopefully the timing is just,
And when a bigger guy says it to somebody, like, you know, you don't hear like, oh, we gotta take it easy, like on little, you know. I just think that it's a little guy is a smaller wrestler is maybe a little bit more apprehensive to complain about, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't handle being in there with the big guys? There's plenty of time. There was times where I got knocked out like every single match because I was working with the same guys every night and we're doing the same spots and knew it was coming. Boom, fucking knocked out. So, yeah. Anyway, so it's just, how do we have these conversations? And how do we, you know, swallow our pride and realize that we got to say things sometimes. You know, I don't know like how this even happened.
Yeah.
And I've taken a long time to talk about this. So
he had a black and blue eye. I'm not sure. I think it happened over the weekend. I think it's just the concussion protocol timing just doesn't work out. Even if it's a minor concussion, you have to take a few weeks off, and it just happens to fall on Chamber Sundays. So hopefully Mustafa will be back soon.
And people were like, some people were blaming Randy Orton. That wasn't it. And no, it wasn't.
It looked like a bad kick to the head, is what I thought it was, but I'm not sure. They're saying it was Rowan on the table for storyline, but I think it, like the scar looked like he was.
Was the table not supposed to break when he got chokeslammed to it?
You would hope it was supposed to break.
Anyways,
That table didn't break. Sometimes those tables don't break.
I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Well, before we go to break, we do have one more thing. Sean, you wanted to talk about NXT. You wanted to talk about Matt Riddle, Drew Gulak, and the Six Women.
Yeah.
Did anyone see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw all of Drew Gulak, man. He had a big day.
Yeah, so and I had Drew on one, like, was it last year? I think it was SmackDown taping. I went down to Staples Center and had a couple, you know, taped a few interviews, and Drew was one of them. And I remember mentioning, you know, like, because, you know, I know Matt, and like I've been, you know, one of Matt's champions since I first trained with him at the Monster Factory, and I've been singing his praises ever since. But Matt really enjoyed working with Drew Gulak on, I think, some Evolve shows.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and so we talked about that, you know, with Drew. Anyways, fast forward to the other day, was it Wednesday, NXT. Those guys had an incredible wrestling match. And one of the things that I wasn't, it didn't surprise me because I knew they would, but what surprised me the most was just how educated the audience was and how they responded to everything accordingly. And it was refreshing and it was really nice. And, you know, man, I love seeing that.
Especially for Gulak, too, because he's become such a strong character that people often forget how technically skilled he is. I mean, before he went to WWE, you didn't see him talking a lot. He was the mat technician, and now he does both. That's a big weapon for them to have.
Also, Drew Gulak was episode 77.
Wow, it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything about the women's match? Any standouts?
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
So good.
Kari Sane to me, whenever she got in the ring, like that was when the people were making the most noise to me. Just in there and shining in the beginning part. You know, she just knows how to have the audience in the palm of her hand. Shirai.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, this match.
I like the combination. I like to be Bianca with them. With those two, and you know, Jessamine Duke is really good. She's going to be great. Marina started a little bit later, and she seems to be doing just fine. What's the deal with her nose?
I'm not sure on that.
As far as I know, the mask is just for an aesthetic thing. I haven't heard that it's any sort of a protective, but she's been wearing it in her matches.
So is there
more
like
than
a gimmick like I got my nose broke?
Not even if there is, they're not saying it on TV.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just or that she's that badass that no one's asked her about the mask.
Anyways, the match was great.
No one asked her
The
about
match was great, and I just wanted to bring it up because I wanted to give credit where it's deserved.
And to me, this match really showcased Io Shirai for people who haven't seen a lot of her so far. Yeah. Whoa, was she incredible!
When do we think the Kairi Sane or Io Shirai match happens, and how do we like? I would hope they hold off as long as possible.
Now that they have the tag team championships, I don't think it'll happen anytime soon.
Fair.
Yep.
So, yeah. Is there anything else, Denise?
No, that's it. It's time for a break.
All right. We're going to be right back with Chuck Taylor, a.k.a. Sexy Chucky T. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us over the phone right now. I'm not sure where he's at, but I'm a big fan of his, and been wanting to have him on the show for a while. And he's one of the newest signees for All Elite Wrestling, and his name is Chuck Taylor, everyone. Make some noise. Yeah. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, man. Hey, and for everyone, I think everyone already knows that Chuck is one of the funnier guys on wrestling Twitter, right up there, like Shane Helms and some other people. But I've been a big fan of yours, Chuck. I don't know if you know that or not, but like ever since I saw you at Chikara.
Oh wow, yeah. Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Like, I think I've told you before, like, I think you're probably the most underrated wrestler of all time.
Thanks, man.
And so it's really cool that that you think that.
Hey, did we have him? Hey, I'm pretty sure we actually had a match together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
No, I have. I'm in Chikara. It was.
I thought you were one of the ice creams when I wrestled the ice creams.
I listened to the one you did, the podcast you did with Drew Gulak.
Yeah.
And I think that came up, and he was still trying to be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to do that to me, too.
I can't confirm or deny, but I'll say it's possible.
Okay. It was really fun working with you.
Do you enjoy ice cream? Can you answer that?
Oh, love it.
Okay.
I had some last night and fully regret it.
All right, confirmed.
Also, hey, I'm going to get this out of the way, too, as Chuck has one of the... Dude, and I said this to you on Twitter, you have one of the very nicest pile drivers I've ever seen in wrestling.
Oh, thank you.
So Chuck, I want to know, obviously you recently signed with All Elite Wrestling. I want to know what made you sign with them and what do you hope to bring to All Elite Wrestling?
I signed with them because I've known the Young Bucks for like over 10 years now, since I started in PWG out in California, and I really like those guys, and I really believe in what they're gonna do, and I legitimately think it could be a real alternative to WWE.
Do you feel any pressure being in a tag team division with the Lucha Brothers, the Young Bucks, SoCal and Censored?
No, never, never in tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling's easy. That's why I do it. I can stand on the apron for a while. Like another guy does all the work.
Hey, so it wasn't the last time I saw you, but it was probably about 2 years ago. I came to PWG, and you had a title match. Was it you won the title that night, didn't you?
Yeah, against Zack Sabre Jr.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't you hit him with the pile driver like right off the bat?
Yeah.
Am I going too deep into the weeds on this?
I think I shook his hand and gave him a pile driver.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. That caught me so off guard, but it was a great match. And you know, some people might think that that's a crazy way to start the match, but it worked. It worked for how you guys did the whole rest of the match.
Yeah, thank you. I think if you've ever seen a PWG show, I think you know that like any rules go right out the window pretty much. So it's fun to try to play with, with structure and everything.
Well, you've been at PWG for a bit now. I want to know, what's it been like for you to be a part of, I guess you can say, one of the most exciting wrestling crowds out there?
I love it. It's always been my favorite place to wrestle for the most part. It's so fun, and the crowd is so, especially, in the last few years, like the crowd is so excited, and they love everything. And, like I said, you get to play with different things, and the crowd is there for it. So I think it's the best independent promotion maybe ever.
Hey, Chuck, so when you started, I was reading that because Kentucky is a
Permit?
it's a
License
commission
state.
state.
License.
So you were 15 when you started, and you had to go wrestle in the other states surrounding Kentucky?
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school, and
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to wrestle in Kentucky, so I had to go to like Tennessee and Alabama and places like that.
Did you finish high school?
Yeah, I finished college too. I have
Get
a college
on.
degree,
Holy shit.
What's that degree in?
television production, and with a minor in film studies.
Wow. So I just I found it interesting because, I started when I was 15 too, or as well, sorry. And, but I started in Florida. Like, I don't think there'd ever been a commission in Florida. It was pretty wide open. If I was
I don't think there's any laws in Florida.
very few, very few. It was an interesting place to start wrestling. There was a lot of good wrestlers there though. Which is, yeah, anyways, I was going to tell you a big story about me, but it's not about me today.
Well, going back to your degree, though, television production, film studies. Now that you're with All Elite Wrestling, which is clearly a hands-on company where some of your best friends are in charge, you could utilize a lot of those skills into making at least digital content, to say the least.
Oh yeah, that's the reason I did that in college. Actually, the reason I started doing video editing and stuff like that was because of WrestleMania 17, that Limp Bizkit My Way video.
Yeah, wasn't that great?
Changed my life.
Yeah, it was amazing, right?
Yeah, so good. But yeah, that's the reason I did that whole thing. So yeah, I think that's always been the plan, is to, if not after I quit in-ring wrestling, maybe even during, like, being able to produce content and stuff on my own.
Hey, so has it come in handy thus far?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was first starting out, me and Ricochet, who's in NXT now, I helped train him. And when we were first starting on the roads and stuff, this was before YouTube was the giant thing it is now. Like, matches and stuff like that, and put them online, and I think that really helped us get booked places.
Well, speaking of Ricochet, that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you, is that you guys wrestled each other through various stages of your career. How has it sort of been seeing the evolution of both of your careers, come about?
It's crazy, like, what he's done with his career. Like, I went to the NXT show in Philly. I live in Philly now. And I went to the NXT show there, the one where Gargano wrestled Andrade Almas.
Oh,
The
yeah.
takeover last year.
And yeah. And Gargano got me tickets because I was actually in his wedding. I was a groomsman in his and Candace's wedding because I've known those two forever. And they introduced Ricochet in the crowd, like he was like, oh wow, look who it is. They cut over to him.
Yeah.
And it like almost made me cry. Like, he was just, because I've known that kid since he was 14.
Yeah. Yeah. So
like the way his career's going is just crazy to me.
yeah, because like when I met you in Chikara, he was there too, and he was like, if I didn't even remember it was him because he looked so different. He had that long straight hair, and he hadn't grown into his physique yet, and yeah, man, it's so crazy, and he like such a one of the really good human beings too, man. On top of it.
Yeah, he really deserves everything he's got, and he works so hard.
How emotional was it the night when you took the title at PWG from him, considering you've known each other for almost, 2 decades, and, you knew he was kind of moving on to the next phase of his career?
Yeah, at the end, like, I think I hugged him and told him I was proud of him and stuff like that. And I think we both got a little emotional. Wrestling's a funny thing. Like, you know, we're play fighting in underwear, but like, this is what we dedicate our lives to, and like, you know, the emotions are real, I think.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of funny things, I gotta ask you, there are several videos of you going out and making kids cry. I want to know, has there ever been like a parent that like took it seriously and maybe got upset with you for making his kid cry?
Oh, absolutely. I've gotten
Really?
multiple death threats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Chuck, you're don't you have a show on the High Spots Network?
Yeah, me and Trent Baretta have our own interviews, being generous to what we do, but a little show that we do.
Yeah, and how is that? Like, how's that going? Do you guys have?
I love it. It's basically, I mean, free money. All we do is like we drink beer and ask some dumb questions.
Do you have guests?
Yeah, we always have one guest.
Is it an
Maybe, I think we've had a couple where we have multiple guests. Yeah.
Do you ever have anyone over the phone?
No, we've never got one over the phone because it's a video thing. So
okay.
I think it would just be a video of us sitting there.
I'm trying to get on Chuck Taylor's High Spots Network show right now
like
for everyone.
You're trying to like get yourself Skyped into that show.
Can I come on your show, Chuck, please?
Absolutely. Oh my God, that would be incredible.
We'll work it out Skype-wise or something.
Chuck, do you have any dream opponents in wrestling in general or in AEW specifically? People that you haven't faced yet that you'd like to?
Yeah, I guess it works for both. I think Chris Jericho's always been one of my very favorite wrestlers, and the fact that he's still as good as he is, you know, this long into his career, I'd love to have a match with him.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Me too.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Well, speaking of aforementioned Trent, you guys, you know, the AEW rally, I know nothing about fashion, but the denim that you both sported, how much thought went into that prior to? Because it was something to behold.
We've actually been wanting to do that for a while. I don't know if I think most people understood what we were doing. But
I did.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I did.
Scott Hall debuted in WCW in
Yep.
96. That outfit he was wearing, we've always just thought that was so cool looking. And
hey, I'm sure Scott still has that somewhere, and he's probably willing to sell it. We could have gotten it from him.
we could have gotten the real one.
Yeah.
Last year at the World Tag League in New Japan, they usually do a press conference at the beginning of the tour, and we were going to both wear that at the press conference, but they canceled the press conference. So then we, you know, when we went over to AEW, it seemed like the right move.
It was meant to be, for sure.
So obviously we have Double or Nothing coming up, but I want to ask, what was your experience like at All In?
It was so incredible. Like I said, I've known those Young Bucks for more than, like, I think it's been 11, 12 years now. And, like, we used to not be able to sell out that Legion Hall in Reseda. Like,
Right.
we couldn't fill it with 400 people. And now the fact that them and Cody and the whole group were able to sell out an arena, like, 13,000 people. It was unreal. And the production was great, and the show was great, and the fans were so excited. It was just, I just wish we were, you know, in a bigger match. It was great to be in we were in the pre-show battle royal, which was still amazing, but, you know, hopefully moving forward we can be in bigger matches.
Well, going back to that
sure.
night, you know, this was obviously September 1st, so a while before the AEW announcement was made. What was the thought process behind everyone backstage saying, wow, we're really onto something? We sold out in 37 minutes. Did you start hearing things then, like, hey, we're going to do it again, and we're going to have TV, and this whole, like, what did you think during those moments specifically?
They were, ever since I think they sold all those tickets for All In, there were always rumblings of like, I think we're gonna do another one, we're gonna try a new thing, and it kind of kept evolving over time. And I think by the time the event happened, I think we had a better idea of what we were gonna do, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, like, there were rumblings as soon as I think they sold all those tickets.
Oh yeah, come on, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And are you now a Jacksonville Jaguars fan?
Maybe I have to plead the fifth on that one.
That's okay. There's no Jaguars fans. It's fine.
Hey, Chuck, I remember, I think it was actually when I saw you at one of the last Chikara events we were both at. Like, I swear I had read something a few years back that WWE was interested in and was going to take a look at you. And then when I asked you about it, I don't know if you remember this, you were like, no. And that surprises me, man, because I think that you have so much to offer, even them.
I did a tryout in I don't know what year was that. It's the one they signed basically the whole 205 NXT, like Gargano and Ciampa and Gulak and Oni Lorcan and Matt Riddle, and like basically everyone but me got signed from that. So
I don't understand what they were looking for that they didn't see in you. I swear to God, I don't get that one bit.
I heard that this is secondhand, thirdhand story, but like
sure.
I heard that there was something like I think Triple H came in and they had like I pictured like they had all our dossiers laid out and like just pictures of us and everything. And he looked at everybody, and apparently he said something like, we have too many good-looking white guys. Sign that guy and that guy with music, Oni Lorcan.
Wow, white privilege did not come in handy that day.
No, I can say I was too handsome for WWE, though. So that's...
Yeah.
So one of the things I obviously have to ask you about is you've spent some time, obviously, in Japan with New Japan. I need to know, what was your experience like working over there? And did you feel any sort of culture shock, anything like that?
Oh, man, I love Japan so much. I'd worked for two other promotions in Japan. I went in 2009 for Big Japan and then 2011 for Dragon Gate. So I kind of knew what I was getting into. But New Japan it's the best, man. I love it so much. It really was a really, 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 really tough decision that me and Trent had to make between the two.
I wondered.
Being AEW and New Japan.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, I really like the dynamic of your relationship you and Trent have as far as what you present as a tag team. It's different. It's different and very cool. Very like, not just trying to copy off of, things people have done in the past. It's pretty cool. The best friends thing.
Yeah, thank you. He's so good. I can't he was in WWE for a long time. It's
yeah, I
crazy
knew him
to me
then.
that they got rid of him. He looks like a WWE wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
He's tall. He's in great shape. Like he has cool gear. Even I don't know. He just looks like a WWE guy. It's crazy that he never went back.
Well, he was. I think he's gotten much better from not being there. Just to be honest with you, I think it's been
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look at guys like Trent and like John Morrison, and you just realize sometimes life isn't fair, and some people just have better genetics than the rest of us. Those guys are just so handsome; it's crazy.
Yeah, it sucks. He eats whatever he wants, and he's still ripped to shreds. Like I look at pizza and I gain 5 pounds. Bullshit.
So you mentioned that, it was a hard decision for you guys to make, but I want to know, was there ever some point where you guys were maybe not on the same page in terms of which direction you were going to go?
I think we both realized that especially at the part we're in our careers now, like maybe we're better off as a team than as singles guys, at least for the time being. I think, we both wavered which way to go for sure. Like, I think he, at one point, was leaning definitely more New Japan, but that schedule's so tough, and he's got a dog now, and, being in Japan for 6 months of the year, not being able to be around his dog, I think that was the main point that he.
That might be a deal breaker.
That
might be a deal breaker for me. Like, honestly, I can see, some people might think that's a ridiculous thing to I can't, sorry, I have a dog. Well, you must not be a dog owner if you think that's ridiculous, or not a very good one.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. My dog's running around right now, and yeah, it's tough being away from them. Like,
It's brutal.
So how do you feel about being like you're gonna be seen by a new audience with All Elite Wrestling? How does that feel or excite you?
I was actually thinking about this the other day when they did the announcement for us in AEW, and I think I have some kind of tweet draft in my drafts folder, something to the effect of like, the bigger you get, the more idiots watch you.
Yes.
So, like, there's so many new ding-dongs that are going to be watching us now. So many new, just bad people that are going to see us. I'm not even thinking about the good people. I'm sure there are good people that'll see it too.
I'm assuming that tweet didn't go over so well with some people on Twitter.
Specifically the people who followed you in the last week. We were like, hey, am I the subject of his tweet?
Hey, so there was
100% real.
there was a tweet that you tweeted out the other day, and I just had to respond. It was something along the lines of, "When I die, I wonder who the most famous wrestler will be to tweet about it." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I'm like, me.
I just think, yeah. Every time someone dies, like, it's just like, I think there's who is it? Anthony Jeselnik has a quote or something like that. Like, don't forget about me in this trying time. Like, who cares?
Right.
Don't make it about you. It's about them.
It's always about us, right? Because
Yeah.
you know, when they die, the first thing we do is put a picture of us with the person that died up on our Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's
See,
the
I
argument
know.
that came out when Stan Lee died. I forgot who it was that mentioned that,
Mm.
but somebody went out and like said that, and everybody got pissed at him.
Well, I need to take a picture with you, Chuck, just in case.
In case that die.
I'm vehemently off Death Twitter for this reason.
Do it on the High Spot show when you're a guest. So, Chuck, Sean mentioned it right at the top. You know, you're hilarious in the ring. You, for the longest time, you have been. What are your comedic inspirations, though? Growing up, who did you watch? Whether it's TV, film, wrestling, that kind of evolved your style, helped you evolve your style. You know, as a person and as well as a performer.
Oh man. Yeah, I've just always been into comedy, into stand-up. I can't put me on the spot. I can't think of who I grew up watching.
Right. Favorite movies?
My favorite comedy movies? Maybe Super Troopers is my favorite comedy ever.
Ah,
Makes
Broken
sense.
Lizard guy, huh?
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the grenade spot too?
That's just something I used to do to make my friend laugh in Spanish class in high school. I would pretend to throw a grenade and pretend to blow up. And then I got to a point where I'd like when I first started college, my career was kind of like middling. I wasn't really doing anything. And so I would just do stuff to make my friends laugh. If they ever saw the tape. So then then it just grew from there, and it's really, really embarrassing. I really hate it.
What, the grenade spot? It sounds like it would be right at home in Chikara, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I did it. I think people see the clip and think that like I'm doing these on like these big like serious shows. Like Chikara it's basically a comedy promotion.
Yeah.
It's a comic book come to life. Like, I'm not doing this on grand stages.
Hey, can you do the mix the grenade spot and the slow motion spot?
I think we did that once somewhere. I can't remember.
Chuck, for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, in Chikara, and I'm not sure who started it there, but I just remember finding out about it right in the middle of my match, and I just about shit because these guys started going into their spot in slow motion, and I'd never seen it, and I didn't know what any of it was about. And I swear to God, I want to get in there and beat the shit out of both those guys. And then I realized everyone's getting with it. What the fuck am I talking about? Can't beat them, join them. And I remember the next time I was there, I was doing the same damn spot. And then Tommy Dreamer pulls a remote out of his pocket and hits the button, and everybody freezes.
Ah.
He hits the pause button. Anyways, that's the kind of shit that would happen in Chikara.
Yeah, it's a really fun promotion.
No doubt.
What do you say to the people that don't like that?
To each his own.
I think that, like, there's certain people that like some certain old school guys that like, will like hate it and everything, but like their generation is the one that told everybody it was fake in the first place. Like you guys told them it was fake. We can't just come in now and be like, no, it's real again. Sorry. Like if you're telling me like, hey, how dare you give away the business like this? Anyway, it's totally fake. Like, here's my podcast about wrestling and how it's fake. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, it seems like a weird double standard.
Don't say the F word. It's not fake.
But get in there and sell a stink face.
The thing about that is like, in my opinion, like, okay, for instance, Shikara, that's a certain like subgenre of wrestling. It's fantasy, it's comedy. Like, if you want to have a promotion that doesn't do any of that, chicanery and just plays it straight, like, you can have that too. I mean,
absolutely. There's genres. It's just like movies. Like,
it's different types of porn.
Just because a comedy movie exists doesn't mean that an action movie can't. Like, doesn't mean a drama can't.
Yeah.
I think there can be genres and everything.
Well, absolutely. But hey, anything.
Wrestling is more subjective than ever. People are going to love what they love and hate what they hate. And bottom line is, wrestling is huge right now. So, hey, there's something for everyone.
Hey, Chuck. Hey,
absolutely. There's plenty of promotions
for sure. Do you have some new merch out?
Yeah, I think we put out some kind of Christmas merch. I have a store on it. It's called like bottomlinemerch.com. We put out some weird Christmas stuff on there. I think we're in the process right now of getting like official AEW stuff. I think we're in the early stages of that. So hopefully soon we'll have some new stuff.
Cool.
Well, my last question to you, Chuck, is in an interview you said that you would leave wrestling once every, like, the year after the year before that. That makes sense. Okay. You would leave it wasn't any better than the year prior. I want to know, obviously, that's not going to happen anytime soon since it's looking like it's just going upward from here. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I think that's always been my plan. Like, if 1 year's not better than the last, then maybe it's time to at least think about hanging it up. But so far, knock on wood, it's all been upward. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Hey, Chuck, in AEW, do you see yourself having a behind-the-scenes role as well? Because, as we were talking about earlier, with the TV production background, is that anything that y'all have talked about? Or is that just something you're thinking about down the road?
Yeah, I've never talked about it formally with anybody, but that's always the plan. I think I'm stuck in wrestling for life, so I think I'll always be around it in some form or fashion.
So I had, like, right after the big announcement of the start of the promotion, Tony Khan came on the show and he talked about we asked him about the the talk of healthcare and things like that, and he mentioned, well, some of the guys will also be like front office employees. Do you see yourself in that role? Is that a role that you guys have talked about?
No, again, haven't had any kind of formal conversation about it right now. I'm just a lonely wrestler, but hopefully, I think someday, of course, I think that would be great. Yeah,
I think I would. You're somebody I'd like to have in my inner circle. Yeah. If I was running a wrestling promotion. So that's why I ask.
My last thing is, I just want to say it's long overdue. Congratulations. Yes. It's weird how the path we take in our careers, you never know where you're going to end up, and sometimes you wonder what really is happening, but it all worked out because I think you would agree you're at the best possible destination where you could have ever asked for, and so it's well deserved, and congratulations from all of us.
I co-sign that, man. I'm really happy for you, and some other buyers in the market that may have passed on you before go, oh shit, should have hired that guy.
I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I guess it's just proof that just wait 17 years and all your friends will get signed, and eventually there'll be no one left, and you'll get signed. That's the way it goes.
Exactly. That's the moral to the story, everyone.
There it is.
It's called the moral to the story is stay the course.
That's probably a nicer way to put it.
Yes, but hey Chuck, I really appreciate you coming on, man, spending time with us today. And like I said, I'll say it again, and I'll say it over and over again. I'm a big fan of yours, and I can't wait to see what you do in AEW with Trent.
Yep.
So thank you so much,
Thank you, man.
Hey, real quick. Hey,
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
real quick. Social media stuff.
Yes.
So people know where to find you.
Oh, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Sexy Chucky T, CHUCKIE,
Yeah.
which is an embarrassing name that I regret. I started using when I was 18. So
I love it, actually. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Sexy Chucky T, everybody. Make some noise. Thank you, Chuck. Have an awesome day, man.
yeah, thank you.
All right.
All right.
What a show. Packed.
Yeah.
Packed out.
Hey, thank you guys for helping me out with that one more than usual.
Well,
I
hey,
appreciate it.
we love talking to people,
Yeah.
and we're all fans of Chuck. So
Me too, man. I'm so happy for that guy. You know, and you know, sometimes greatness can be overlooked. You know, and it's like he mentioned. I bet you that's exactly what happened. We got too many good-looking white guys. I can totally see that. I know that sounds crazy, but I can totally see that.
And I think at one point, and I think this was real, I remember Chuck announcing he was done with wrestling at one point, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and he ended up coming back. And I know there were times where Scorpio Sky thought the same thing, and they both stuck it out, and look where they're at now.
Yeah.
So if you love what you do, you just got to keep at it.
Yeah. So like Scorpio. Yeah, that's another one.
Also, I think the tryout he's talking about, if it were when Gargano and Ciampa and everyone, it would have been 2016, right before the Cruiserweight Classic. Just to kind of give a timeline, I guess. But yeah, there were a lot of good-looking white guys in that Cruiserweight Classic.
Hey, so did I mention I'm going to go down to the Performance Center?
No, not on the show. Tell us.
Yeah. I think I might in March. I'm going to go down, coach down there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to mention that. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first time stepping foot in the Performance Center, actually.
It's a great crew down there for sure.
Yeah. And I was just looking at everyone that they have down there now, and I know so many of those folks down there, and like I've worked with a lot of them, and I you know, some of them like Riddle, and like there's some like Punishment Martinez and guys like that, and
I love Punishment Martinez. He's incredible.
Yeah, those guys, you know, I mean, I worked out with those guys at Monster Factory whenever I could get a chance. And, you know, and then just other guys like, you know, that are down there that I've been on shows with, done, you know, international tours with Ricochet, and, you know.
Scotty Too Hottie's there.
Yeah.
Good to see him again.
And Matt Bloom, who's, you know, well, he hit me up about it. It felt really good because, you know, he's always been so respectful to me, and he was my choice. Like when they put PJ and I together as X Factor, we needed a big heavy, you know, and there was a few guys around there, and like to me, like I just. Matt Bloom was like, man, he soaked up knowledge like a sponge. He was you know, he was like, just, you know, show gratitude towards me of, you know, for coaching him and taking the time, you know, picking him or whatever. But like, man, like he was just a dream person to be able to teach. Oh, I go off into, you know, but so it feels good when he calls me and wants me to come pass on some knowledge to everyone down there.
You're going to be a tremendous asset to everyone down there.
Yeah, we're excited for you. That's great. Cool.
Yeah, and you know, anyways, I was mentioning something about Jericho. I was communicating with Chris earlier. I'll speak about it later.
All right.
But hey, let's just go through the, you know, tell us where we can find everyone, and let's get the Fuck out of
Yeah.
here.
You guys can find me on Twitter almost exclusively. I'm at Steve Kaufman. That is KAUFMANN. I run a lot of pro wrestlers' YouTube pages, so if I'm tweeting the link, I'm involved. So support them. You'll support me.
All right, and then for the show, please do not forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at XPac12360, and for the Twitter at XPac12360 show. We post a lot of updates, clips, and so much more, so make sure to check it out. For me, myself, go ahead and follow me or check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at _Denise Salcedo, YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo. Lots of interviews up there, recent interviews with Jeff Cobb, Ray Phoenix, Garza Jr., and hopefully some upcoming ones as well.
All right, San Francisco Punchline this weekend. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Watch it worldwide every single week. Blackcraft Wrestling pay-per-view next Saturday, the 23rd in Toronto. I'll be there. And I'm going on tour with Rikishi. We're doing 4 dates, so follow Rikishi's social media. If you want to see him do a live show, trust me, we're putting together something really fun. You're going to enjoy it.
All right. And, you can follow me at The Real X-Pac on Twitter, at Real X-Pac on Instagram. You can follow Lula on Instagram at It's Baby Lula. And I'm not sure we're going to have on next week. I have a few options. Some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, but always some good ones. Anyways, we'll see you right here next week from the beautiful AfterBuzz TV studios here in North Hollywood, California.
Yeah.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.